Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome to FSP. This is episode number 116. Thank you all for being here in the chat. You guys rock, and we're gonna have some fun today because, hey, there's actually some more info today on Starfield, and also another game that we're fans of here. So we're gonna have a little bit of discussions on some of the stuff we have to look forward to coming up, and yeah, there's some exciting things. I think that a lot of so I think with the Starfield stuff, and we'll get into it in a little bit, but like people that have been looking for a specific aspect that they feel like was missing from Bethesda games should be delivered with Shattered Space. So we'll get into some of that in a little bit. I want to say thanks to everybody who is here already, and also to the awesome panel that we have here for the start of the show. Welcome to Fuzzy Belvedere. What's up, Fuzz? How you doing, man?
Doing great. Glad to be here with you guys. Just like I was saying earlier, hopped off of State of Decay 2, just kind of living out The Walking Dead in video game form. But other than that, just been going through some of the stuff on Game Pass. I found that there's a lot of games that have gone into the service that I kind of didn't play once they hit the service, and some of them are about to leave in like a month or so. So it's like, all right, yeah, let me hit up Yakuza Like a Dragon, which actually I'm not the biggest turn-based guy, but love how they have it set up.
It's really
Um,
fun, right?
oh,
It's just a fun game.
yeah, yeah, just the exploration and then the way they pace the story and stuff like that. I like how they line things up. And then Gotham Knights is another one where I didn't really give that one as much thought, probably because of some of the controversy when it was coming out, but enjoying that on, or actually playing that on PC. So not, I don't even know if they do the performance mode for the consoles or not, but enjoying it on PC nonetheless. Great game. Just wish it would have, gotten a little more, a little less hate, I should say, at its launch, much like with Suicide Squad and stuff. And also playing Mafia, which I'm actually now more and more pumped for the old country one that they're, I guess, working on now, playing the original definitive edition Mafia. So loving that as well. Feels like you're in the Mafia movie. So yeah,
Yeah.
just having fun with games.
That's awesome, man. Gotham Knights is actually really fun. They have this
Yeah.
co-op mode that's kind of like you can go through waves of enemies and stuff like that too. And if you play,
Mhm.
I played that with Steel and Pong. I think
It was me.
it was you. Sorry,
Yeah.
Steel and Jasper. I was getting carried through there, and we went through, and I maxed out my character's level like within a couple of hours. I think just running through those, and
Mhm.
it's a blast, dude. The combat's really good. Console versions are only 30 frames, which I still think is kind of a miss from the developers on that, with kind of some of the priorities. The fact that Suicide Squad, from Rocksteady is able to be a smooth 60 and Gotham Knights is not, it kind of is strange to me. And it kind of tells me that maybe Rocksteady had some more better optimization or something. I don't really know, but I
Mhm.
think they're both using like the same engine and everything. So I don't see
Yeah.
why one could do it and the other one can't. But yeah, Gotham Knights could have used a performance mode on consoles for sure, but they just didn't seem to think it was possible or care to. I don't know. The fact that every other game where developers have said it's not possible has kind of gone back and done it makes me think that it probably could. But on
Mhm.
PC, man, that game like is gorgeous. It's
I really
ultra
like the story in that
smooth.
game too.
Yeah, it's a good story. Yeah, it's a dark story. Like they go to some crazy places for DC,
Yeah.
So like it's a really good game. And if you don't mind playing at 30, there's no reason not to play that even on console, right? And if you got a PC that's solid PC or whatever, you can get it on PC too, however you prefer. But you mentioned also so you had that one, and then there was another game. Which one was the one you said first?
Oh, wait.
State of Decay.
State
What
of
do you call it?
Decay.
State of Decay 2. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one,
Really
man. Like
enjoying that.
that's a game like you can keep coming back to, like, and it's just you get lost in every time.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's some of these games that just kind of hold up. Gotham Knights is one of these games that I think people will go back to occasionally here and there as well. So
Mhm.
But yeah, it's cool, man. I got a RoboCop today.
Ooh,
I haven't
nice.
played it yet, but it's on sale on Xbox for a half off, so it's like $30 off. Um, and I
That one's on the list. I
yeah.
gotta pick that one up before the year's out.
Yeah, and then they also have Steam has a PlayStation sale. It's so crazy to say that, but they have a PlayStation sale, and also CD Keys has some PlayStation games there too. So they
Mhm.
Yeah, I
had
picked up Days Gone for like $7 or something
yeah,
like that on CD Keys.
Yeah.
like Days Gone, which is a underrated game that Sony just kind of shat all over themselves after it launched because it didn't get their 9, you know.
Yeah.
That one I went ahead and got for the Steam library. And then Horizon Zero Dawn was like $10 or something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like
I keep waiting for Returnal to go on sale for like $12. Pick it up, but
yeah, Returnal's actually really good. It's one of the games I played
Yeah.
when
they
I had
only
my
drop it down
PS5.
to like I think like $35 every
Yeah,
time. I'm like, it's got to
Yeah.
be cheaper before I pick it up.
when it does drop down, you'll like it.
Yeah.
I'm holding out hope for GT7 go to PC. If that goes to PC and they start doing this, like, hey, you only have to wait like a little over a year or 2 years or something, I'm never probably gonna own a PlayStation again, because the only reason I ever own one is for the exclusives, right? I don't
Mhm.
play multiplats on it. I buy most of the games on Xbox or PC now, so I would have no reason to. And especially with the fact that the games play best on PC, right? Like all these games coming out for PS5 Pro or whatever that they're going to talk about enhancements for, everybody's talking about, oh, it's like a 4070 or 40 what or whatever. Doesn't matter. They're going to perform better on a high end PC. That's
Yeah.
just the way it is. How's it going, Jasper? How you doing?
Pretty good. I finished Space Marine 2 over the weekend, so done with that. Still need to jump into Star Wars Outlaws. I'm like almost done with that game, so that's gonna be the next one I finish, or at least try to work on throughout the week here. But other than that, it's going pretty good.
Have you been playing with controller on? Um,
Yeah,
do you use wireless controller or do you plug it in?
wireless. It's Bluetooth.
Have you had any issue with it detecting your controller for that game
On what game?
on Space Marine?
No.
I
I
I,
know like
I don't know what it
for
is, but
test drive I did. Like if I launched the test drive game and then turned on my controller, it wouldn't work. So I'd have to like turn on my controller and then start the game.
yeah, it doesn't matter what I do. Like if I have a wireless controller, it won't detect it on Space Marine, but every other game is fine. But the only way I can get it to work is if I have my controller plugged in, launch the game, and then unplug it and let it be wireless
Oh.
then. Which it's been frustrating because if I'm using Steam Link, right, on my like tablet for, I'm in the bedroom or whatever and I want to play that way, it doesn't work at all, you know. So yeah, Space Marine 2 has been a little weird with that, and I've looked up and other people have been having the same issues, but their troubleshooting things haven't worked for me. So the only troubleshooting thing that worked is plugging it in and then unplugging it. So I don't know, I got this weird Space Marine 2 thing going on that seems like a me issue. Don't know why, but
Mhm.
is what it is. It's not a huge deal, but that game's amazing. What would you give it, Jasper? Since you finished the
I still
campaign.
haven't touched the multiplayer, and I didn't do the. I tried to do the PvE side mission of stuff, but like every time I tried, it never would load. So I, I feel like I've just done the campaign, so it's kind of hard to judge that game because I haven't experienced the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I guess I'll just do the IGN 7.
IGN 7. Just 7. Okay,
Yeah.
that's like a 8.5 for most of us, I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
from a Jasper's scale. Right on, man. Yeah. So I wanted to kind of dive into some of the info. Let's actually start with Space Marine because there was some actually interesting comments from the Saber Interactive CEO. Funny enough, in a YouTube comment for Asmongold, and Pong had shared this with us earlier.
Yeah, I think he responded to that today.
Who Asmongold did?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what his response was.
it was like an
Uh,
hour-long video, I'm pretty sure, so
okay.
I didn't watch it.
Right on. Yeah. But yeah, this was Asmongold, I guess, had a stream or video about Warhammer Space Marine 2. I think he likes it like many of us do, even though Jasper gives it a 7. Um, and it's been kind of a refreshing kind of game because it's kind of a throwback, but it's also
Yeah.
like AAA quality as well. So it's not, doesn't seem like it's like, hey, this, because we're not doing what the modern ideas are, we're scaling back on our ambition. It seems like they went all in on the ambition of making the best kind of this game possible, right, for this day and age. And I think that that's kind of what his sentiment is. So Matthew Karch or Karch, I don't know exactly what his name is, but he was responding to Asmongold's video, and he said, "Hey man, CEO of Saber here. I love your videos. When we signed the deal to make Space Marine 2, all I wanted was a throwback game. We had the chance to work on something which by its nature was old school. I can't even comprehend many of the current games that we play these days. They are too complex and too much of an investment. We worked on Halo back in the day, and that game could be distilled down to the simplest of shooting loops, but it was entirely addicting. That is what we wanted to recapture. I hope that games like Space Marine 2 and Wukong are the start of a reversion to a time when games were simply about fun and immersion. I spent some time as chief operating officer at Embracer, and I saw games there that made me want to cry with their overblown attempts at messaging or imposing morals on gamers. We just want to do some glory kills and get the heart rate up a little. For me, that is what games should be about." So that was in response to Space Marine 2 is a reminder of what we lost, Asmongold's video, right? I think that, I guess whatever that video kind of resonated with him, and he was like, yeah, like this is, he's kind of sick of where the games have been doing and going these days, and he wanted to make a throwback kind of classic, just badassery, dude bro fun shooter game that just gets rid of all the other nonsense and stuff out there. And the fact that what I'm curious about is the fact that this game is such a success, regardless of your 7, Jasper. Do you think that other publishers take notice of this, or do they still focus too much on the other stuff?
I think there's a lot of companies nowadays that try to pander to everyone, and at the end it hurts them. Like, because a lot of companies nowadays are into like identity stuff and make sure everyone's included in the game, and they don't make the game that the lore or whatever should be. So they just end up pandering to everyone, and then no one likes it.
So it's like if you make something that's for everybody, sometimes it's actually for no one.
Yes.
Right. As opposed to kind of what it was in the day, like you would make games for like what the target audience was, kind of, or
the game
stories
that
or whatever
the creators wanted to make.
Yeah, right. And then now there's been a lot of kind of like, well, we need to make sure this or that or whatever. Yeah, I get that, and a lot of people have words for that kind of stuff. Like,
yes.
I think some of that can get overblown because I think it's too lumped in, right? Like if something has like a certain kind of character in it, all of a sudden it's this or it's that, and it's like we can't use that all the time, right? Like it's just anytime it's the same thing as like if I say Avowed developers shouldn't have said that they don't think it's important to have 60 frames in a first person game, right? Like I should, if I say that, all of a sudden I'm a pony bot or I'm a PlayStation guy just because I make one comment, right? It's like lumping people in because of one little instance or one thing, and there's too much of that goes around people in general. If like a character is all of a sudden different than you expected them to be, all of a sudden doesn't mean like it's because of this or because of that, right? And sometimes that's what happens, and that ruins the overall messaging, I think, with what gamers are looking for, which is just games that stick to the core principles of what they should be about. And
I also feel like the community itself also damages a lot of games now before the game even has a chance.
Yeah. That's true. You know, it depends on the game too. And
Yeah.
some of them, like, they'll just ignore everything negative and just like because they want it to succeed or excited about it, or they'll latch on to ideas of like, oh, this game's the opposite of that, so we're gonna latch onto this and be like ultra supportive of it. Then the game still sucks and it doesn't matter, but they're still like super supportive of it or whatever. There's like lots of examples of people using ideals to champion stuff or not champion things, but like what they did here is just regardless of any of the other stuff, they made a great video game.
Yep.
Right? And you can have a great video game that has different ideas in it or more inclusive or whatever, or is um games of service, or if it's free to play, or if it's an indie game or whatever, you know. But I think what this game did is cemented the fact that games like this are still important, right? These games like this still can sell and still have an audience, right? And that I think is an important message for a lot of these publishers to see that, hey, you know, sometimes we just want to play something badass and not worry about the rest of the stuff, you know? What is your take on what the CEO said, Fuzz?
Um, I think the biggest thing is that they actually got to make a game that they wanted to make. I think that's probably the bigger takeaway as far as devs today sometimes are pressured by publishers to make a game that has microtransactions or has this particular, setup to follow a trend, and devs were able to make something that they enjoyed playing, years ago, that's kind of missing from, the formula of games now. And they were happy making it. It wasn't like when you're pressured to do something, you don't always necessarily turn out your best, work. But when you get to make something you actually are enthusiastic about, I think it shows in how well this game is being received. So, the fact that they got to make a simple game that's a throwback to, yesteryear when they enjoyed playing games, I think is a hopefully a step in the right direction. Now, Wukong, on the other hand, might be a little bit of a different story, although it is kind of like a passion project that, devs that have, or at least the couple of the main team, I think, for what was it, China Room or whatever the studio is called that made it. I think a lot of them were like veterans from other games, and they kind of like, well, we want to make like this, killer game, and we're a small studio, but we're going to punch above our weight level. And then they got the backing to make that game. I think that goes to show how well, if you have a vision of what you want to make and you at least get the funding or have access to the funding to make it, you can make, something spectacular. But I haven't played Space Marine 2 just yet, but everything I've seen as far as people's like tips, as well as just the feedback from those I know that are enjoying the heck out of this game right now, I really wish more devs had the freedom or the wherewithal to be able to make games that they truly want to make. I know Saber, and considering, I guess they're still under Embracer or something like that.
I thought they bought themselves out, right?
Did they?
Saber,
Okay.
yeah, Saber
Well,
went
Yeah.
separated from Embracer. Yeah. And that's kind of what he was on about it a little bit in his comment, saying when because he was CEO there, and there was a lot of like conversation about like some of the, and a lot of the games are trying to be kind of like morally like correct and stuff like that, and things, and he was kind of saying like it's not really what gaming necessarily is about. It's about having fun and just kind of getting your heart rate up and having a blast is
Yeah.
kind of what he was saying, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. So I guess it's for the best that Saber was able to part ways in that regard, because everything else, with the Embracer, which is, it's still kind of like on watch right now, as far as whether there's more closures or layoffs, coming down the road, or full on bankruptcy at some point. The fact that they were able to get away from that situation, make something they wanted, and it's successful at this point. I think hopefully that gives more encouragement or more motivation to some of these other devs that may either still be trapped over at Embracer, or or at other places and be able to, convince their publisher to give them the freedom to make what they want, kind of thing, or make what gamers want as opposed to what they think gamers want. So
Yeah, ultimately though, I think it's still a lot of these games are under such big corporations that even if these corporations see this stuff, like they're not going to care because they're still going to have their things that they try to force in the games no matter what. Like,
yeah,
there's only so much that the actual game dev studio can do. Like they make the game obviously, but there's certain higher ups that want stuff in that game, you know.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing because like there's a when you're like a big ass company and you're a big ass publisher and you're answering to all these different people and all these things, it's like there's certain things that they want to focus on or make sure they're sensitive about and all that kind of stuff, right? Like and I get that. I do like, and I'm not as critical of that as a lot of people are. A lot of people just always put those things into a box and say it's like the worst thing ever and it ruins everything and stuff. But like for me, I'm not really like that with that stuff. But like I don't really think like a game like Space Marine 2 like offends anybody. You know what I mean? Like, or is like not being inclusive of anything or any. It's just telling a story in a great world that's immersive and like it's the feeling sometimes that I think certain things need to change the story or inject certain things into them that can kind of make them more vanilla or like more bland a little bit or kind of like lose their edge at times. And that's something that somehow with its current day and age, like this game has just kind of really said, hey, we're gonna make what we want. And maybe it's because the CEO is like, hey, this is an opportunity to for us to kind of show that these kind of games are still important and can resonate. But the main important part of it is like if you put the quality behind it, right? Because you can have this game and it could be like janky and it could be feel like a lot of the other AA games that come out, but this came out, but it kind of delivered that AAA quality and
Yeah,
polish. So
I guess that's because like anytime like a game's being remade from like back in the day, like even with like the newest like Lollipop Chainsaw remake or whatever, like people are always asking like, is it going to be censored, or are they going to change stuff? So like, there's always that kind of like concern that games nowadays
yeah,
are going to be changed. So like that's why I think Space Marine 2 is like saying it's like the old days where like you could see this coming out back in the day and you wouldn't really think of something like this today. I don't know.
yeah, it's more of a style kind of game for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The way they tell the story, the way they go through the levels, the camaraderie between the characters, the dialogue, like the immersiveness of the world and stuff. And I think it's a special game for this generation because it is bringing. There's other games that have been what we call that 360 PS3 style, but they've been like more of that lower budget kind of indie level or really lower budget double A, and this is like the first one that's really bringing that we can look at that's like they went all in on it, and for me that's the key for any genre, for any type of game, is you don't go half-ass because then the players are just not going to resonate with it as much. Whatever you do, just go all in on it. Like this is the reason why I think some of the fighting games have had such a resurgence now, as opposed to last generation. You had games like Tekken came out then, and Street Fighter 5, and they just feel like half baked, like not as much put into them and stuff. But now, like Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6, they were like, hey, fully featured, amazing at launch, like great everything, and all of a sudden they're huge successes, bringing the fighting genre back, right? So ultimately, it just always comes down to what you deliver, and I do hope that Microsoft, PlayStation, um, EA, Ubisoft, and a lot of these publishers kind of see that, hey, there's a market for this, and I think
I mean,
things are
I guess
changing a little bit.
Ubisoft kind of saw that with Assassin's Creed Mirage. I don't know if they really saw the success that they hoped for with that game, but they at least tried it.
Yeah, and Ubisoft is kind of one that gets the most criticism with this kind of stuff as well at times because like it seems like they're the most trend chasing publisher out there for the most part. Um, and they always just follow what they think is the most going to be the most successful thing, and they make everything like that. Usually, it's like, hey, that's what's popular. Let's make all of our games like that, you know. But so when these games like this come out, it's like, hey, but what I hope with Microsoft is like for Gears E-Day, like I hope they see this and is like, and we don't really got to worry about anything else. Let's just let Coalition make what they want to make and make a badass Gears game, right? And because there's a market suited for that experience. And I think 200,000+ concurrent players on Steam, and whoever knows how many more on Xbox and PlayStation or wherever else this game is going to agree with that. You know, let's have some more of these kind of experiences also. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting with those comments. I don't want to get into the whole like too much into that other side of it, you know, but I do champion.
Yeah, no, I was trying to skirt that line. So
yeah, because I'm
Yeah.
kind of against the whole like anti like thing with all that stuff too, because it's just used too much, like with lumping everything into a box. But like I still want to celebrate and champion things that are specific kinds of games, you know. And I do feel like a lot of publishers decided that we just can't do these things anymore, and I think that's bullshit. Right, I think there's certain audiences for every kind of game, really, but don't make everything into one thing. You know, the better diversity you have between your games and your franchises and variety of genres and all these kind of things, I think is better for anybody because we're all looking for different experiences when we play. You know, so ultimately that's what I like to champion for. But anyway, so we also had did y'all see this? I'm curious. This was exclusive. This was an exclusive. It was an exclusive tweet. This was from Hip Hop Gamer today. There was breaking news that he can confirm that GTA 6 will be at 4K image quality at 60 frames per second on the PS5 Pro.
I have extreme doubts.
Thoughts? I mean, Digital Foundry said otherwise.
Yeah.
So I don't have any issues with Hip Hop Gamer. I just found it interesting. It was that's a bold claim, right? Like that's a very bold claim to make.
Well, he at least phrased it as image quality, although that's strange to me. Like it's not going to be 4K 60 native.
It's going to be like 720 upscale.
I don't think it's going to be 60. I think it's going to be 30,
I don't think it's going to be 60 on the. Yeah, or maybe they can squeeze Rockstar enough to possibly do a 40, frame per second, like in between mode for the 120 frame or 120 hertz monitors or TVs and stuff. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think there's going to be some beast PCs that are considered beast PCs today that are going to struggle with doing 4K 60 for that game. So I'll be happy to be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's some 4070s Ryzen 5 chipsets that are going to not be able to hit 4K 60. Just saying. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. But
I mean, I guess the best thing that modern PCs have going for them with GTA is a lot of modern PCs nowadays have multiple cores, whereas like back in the day, like it was like 8 cores at most. So now there's a lot of multi-core stuff, so you can actually keep all those civilians and NPCs kind of like within the game, like constantly calculating within the CPU. So it may not be as bad, but it's still going to be a demanding game to run.
So he went on to say how he knows this. So we were all wondering, obviously, as we read through the tweet, like what the source is, like, because he's confirming it, right? And like, is a developer, that works for Rockstar, gave you the goods, or is it somebody at 2K Publishing, or like, what's going on? Like, where did you get this exclusive breaking information, right? So I was really curious. I had to keep reading the tweet, right? It says, "How do I know this? Well, after this month and December, everyone that's a real true hardcore gamer will have PS5 Pro. Easy." So if now this is, I just got to say that because 2K only makes games for the real true hardcore gamer, right? That for that percentage of people, which obviously is going to be everyone that is a real true hardcore gamer, so it's going to be a lot of people, right? There's going to be so much PS5 Pros out there that for some reason this is going to create the PS5 Pro to transform into a more powerful machine, and they're going to be able, through the power of the players, the real true hardcore gamers, to deliver more performance to the console CPU, to magnificently and magically somehow transform this game into a 60 frames experience as opposed to 30. Because
Pretty sure you're supposed to put #ad on a tweet when you're trying to sell a product.
Oh, okay.
I don't even think putting #ad would work, because that would be false advertising, and then I'm pretty sure the FTC can come after them at that point. But it's like, yeah.
I
He gets some stuff right. He gets a lot of stuff wrong, or it's like partially right. But I'm going to say it right now. There's no way this is 4K 60 on any hardware. And if it actually makes it to next gen, whether that's 2026 for Xbox or 2028 for PlayStation, I don't even think there'll be 4K 60 then natively. I can almost guarantee you it won't be 4K native. I'm just saying. I'll put that out there. I'll put my name on the line. By 2028, any console that's on the market will not do 4K 60 native. Period. It'll be upscale. Sure, you'll see it on a 4K TV and it'll look great, but it'll probably be 1800 scaled up, or whatever the pisser or their equivalent can do for the next PlayStation 6 or whatever. And it'll be the same thing for Xbox. The consoles are not going to be able to do that, and even with, when you look at like some
Pro
of these
says
video
8K
cards,
60 on it though.
I mean, you could hook it to your 8K TV and it won't look blurry, but it won't be 8K either. And for the people that were out there saying, "Oh, well, the cars that were scanned for, Gran Turismo are in 8K," yeah, okay, and they're downsized or downscaled for the game to actually run. You can watch it on an 8K TV. That doesn't mean it's native 8K content. That's what I don't think people,
like,
at least on that side,
that's
understand,
like
or refuse to
they
understand.
say we scanned the road to the millimeter. You know what I mean? Like, of all this detail, we have like 18 million terabytes of data for the track, at Sebring or some shit like that. And it's like, oh my God, yeah, that's gonna be crazy when I actually get to see that running through my Xbox. Like, it's not, that's transferred into a development process that they use for their assets to make them look as good as possible and as realistic as possible, which then gets like put to what your actual output is of the game. Now, 8K assets, does that mean they actually have 8K images of the cars? Yes. Does that mean that's what you're actually seeing when you play? But they did announce an 8K mode in Gran Turismo, but to say, is it going to be a native 8K? If it is, enjoy your 5 FPS running around the track. Like, I'm just saying, like, that's not like a realistic expectation to have. And if you would choose 8K 30 to actually race, even over 4K 60, man, in a racing game.
I would rather just whatever the 60 or better as far as frame rate. The resolution. I mean, as long as it's not like 480 or 600 or 800 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, the only bet for GTA 6 running at 60 is if Rockstar actually does a performance zone, which they usually don't do, and they would have to like lower all the settings like crazy.
Red Dead Redemption 2 still doesn't have a fucking 60 frames mode.
Exactly.
Right? Like
I guess if Rockstar was to actually consider that at launch, then this game would look like GTA 4 at 60. I don't think you even get the quality of what we saw unless you want to look back at the PS3 quality for GTA 5 or something like that. But yeah.
I put hashtag ad on his post. I just I put it in the comments. That was a good point, because that's the only reason I could think that exists is like trying to sell it. You know what I mean? Like, I shout out to Nate Dogg Pro. Changed his name officially now for the PS5 Pro. Nate Dogg. Shout out to Nate Dogg Pro. This is day one. Hey, dude, more power to you, man. Anybody who wants this thing, I have no absolute zero issue with anybody playing on the console ecosystem that they prefer, wanting the best experience possible and willing to pay for it. Right? If it was an Xbox, I would do the exact same thing. And I guess according to this information now that we have, Nate Dogg, this exclusive breaking news, right? That is confirmed. You are probably the only one in the chat that is a real true hardcore gamer. So shout out to you. I'd like to give you a round of applause for being a real true hardcore gamer and enjoy playing GTA 6 at 4K 60 at launch. I can't wait to see it. You'll have to send me videos and screens and everything, man. I can't wait, because the rest of us will be on our Xbox Series X's, playing at a measly 30, It's because that's confirmed.
I'm just curious.
Confirmed.
I'm just curious how much better supposedly the PS5 Pro version of Undisputed is going to look compared to PC. Like, I have even my doubts on that. Like, it'll look great.
Yeah.
It'll probably look very similar to what it looks like on PC if you got, a 30 series card or better. But I don't think it's going to outdo it by any means. Like,
yeah,
I think when I do it for unlocked, it's at like 90 plus pretty consistently. And then I usually do the V-Sync to lock it at 60 and go from there and turn the settings down for the monitor and all that. And buttery smooth, looks great, but yeah, I don't know if he's trying to put 2 and 2 together with, Undisputed looks great, so of course Grand Theft Auto 6 will look great, but 4K 60 not going to happen on GTA 6, and that's just.
I mean, unless if they're still using, like, if they haven't upgraded the GTA 5 engine whatsoever, like maybe because it's an engine that was designed for the 360, it'll work. I don't know.
No, I mean
they've even updated it a bit since from the 360 to the PS4, and then they just did a software or assets update for the one for next gen. So for the PS5,
I guess that makes sense because they added ray tracing to it. So
yeah.
I mean, we saw that trailer. It was pretty impressive with the fidelity and stuff, and like this is going to be a bigger world than we've played before in GTA games and everything. Like, I don't know, like it would be amazing. I hope it runs 60 frames. I hope it runs 60 on the PS5 Pro. I really do.
I guess they could. They did a performance mode for the Xbox One X version or Series X version because they added the ray tracing stuff. So I guess
well, they
could be experimenting with performance.
Third iteration of it. So like it released on 360, then it released on Xbox One, and then it was like, okay, so we got this upgrade, and then after the One X's and PS4 Pros came out, they had the update, and they had, maybe it was before. It was, I don't remember. I think it was
because
they sold it.
The One X added 60.
Tried to sell you it 3 times. There was a 360 version, an Xbox One version,
and then the Series X.
Yeah, it was. It took Xbox One. I'm pretty sure was 60 FPS because they added the first person mode.
No, that one wasn't 60 FPS. They added the first person mode, but this generation was the first time we got 60 on GTA 5 Because I remember
Yeah.
when we got it, like, I was like, wow, 60 frames on GTA. This feels crazy and smooth. I remember it was like year 1 or 2 of this generation, I think, is when that happened.
Mhm.
We got it, and we installed, and we started playing quite a bit after that update, you know. But yeah, they've had 3 major transformative updates for me. There was, or 2. There was the Xbox One, which they added first person mode and stuff into it, right? And they it added some fidelity and stuff and looked good. And then this one, the Series X one, which like really upped the fidelity even more and added the 60 frames mode. But what we see from GTA 6 is like on another level, right? Like, I'm surprised they haven't done Red Dead 2 update at 60. And
Yeah.
you know, like, if you can on my PC, I can play it at over 60 frames, but even that game is still a monster. You know, that game's a monster, and I maybe it's because of everything that it's doing that it's just kind of hard to push 60. You know, I don't. Maybe that's why we haven't got the update, but it would be amazing. I really actually hope for this to be true. But I just think it's like a bold claim to say that it's confirmed at this point, because the people that are the technical experts out there are saying that it's not going to happen. And
Yeah, I like how he's confirming a performance mode, or at least a 4K 60 mode, but this game might get delayed from all the insiders. It's like
yeah.
they have a confirmed target, but they don't even know when the game's fucking coming out. Like, how does that make any sense at all?
But the other issue is saying that only the real true hardcore gamers are like be the PS5 Pro owners, right? So you're saying like 10% in the lifespan, because there was how many percent? 13% of the lifespan of the PlayStation generation PS4 ended up buying a PS4 Pro. So only 13% of PlayStation gamers were real true hardcore gamers last generation. And if you're isolating it to that, then you're saying out of the entire market, you're talking about like maybe 2%, 1% of gamers, or even less, are actual real true hardcore gamers. Like, it's just kind of a, I don't know.
Just
I
the
don't
way
like
he
that
ended that tweet
thing.
made it seem like he's trying to convince himself that, like, oh, this is why I'm getting the Pro. It's like, just get the Pro. You don't need to convince yourself.
Yeah. It's exactly. If you want your games to perform better and be better, like, I think it's going to do that, you know, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's why I would buy it, right? But like, hey, if it comes back to buy them, that's fine. I have no issues with the guy. It's just funny to see that kind of claim from somebody that's been like kind of known in the gaming community for so long, right?
Mhm.
And about this, and there's been a lot of defense over the PS5 Pro, I think, more so than anything, because of the price, because of the way it was presented. And then even more so some after Digital Foundry's breakdown, when some of the native resolutions were discovered, that this being like upscaled from a really low res point. I don't care too much about that, because I've seen games that you do that now and look great. You know, Remnant 2, what was that, 720 or some shit native, upscaled to like 4K or something, and like we were all playing that, and y'all were all talking about it, and I remember Steele mentioning.
I mean, there was like, you could notice it in certain scenes,
Yeah.
but like it was actually better than a lot of games when they upscale. So,
and I was looking at it, I didn't know shit. You know, I'm like, it looks great to me. So for me, the upscaling stuff depends on how good it is. You know, and that's up to the developers and the engine and everything, I think, that are utilizing the tech. So that whole thing doesn't really matter. I want 60 frames. I want the games to look as good as possible, and if it does that and more consistently, then it'd be worth it, you know. But to try and like make bold claims to try and defend something that is probably false, it's kind of strange. It's like kind of Keeley energy right now, you know, like with those macroeconomics and the inflation charts of years to adjust for the price. But anyway, it is what it is. I know that none of us are really looking forward to it unless we see some really kind of great benefit, but maybe they'll have something eventually that we'll be looking forward to. Shout out to Lotus
A
Esprit.
showcase.
A showcase, yes, that's what we need. A showcase that actually has games. That would be crazy. Hey, Nate Dogg, are you looking forward to the games that were announced for next year for the PS5 Pro? I mean, are you looking forward to the PS5 Pro enhanced games announced that are coming out next year? Wait, was there any?
Not new games, I don't think.
Not, yeah,
Assassin's Creed
they
Shadows
made
this
mention
year.
of, yeah, but I mainly focus on the fact that they have something for GT7. But
Yeah.
that's one title. It's interesting and probably one of the, well, so far it's the only title that's convincing me that I might need this, but I'm not buying. I'm not paying a $400 upcharge after trading in my PS5 for one game. Show me
The
Ghost of
most
Tsushima 2 or something along
the
those lines, and maybe I then that will be the bigger push for me at that point.
the most interesting thing out of that PlayStation 5 Pro announcement was the pisser technology, because they're kind of going in. It's a bold choice, Cod. Let's see if it pays off. Where where like they're I don't know if they're going to force their devs to use that technology, but if it doesn't work out the best, or if they force third parties to even use it, but like if their upscale technology isn't that great and it's not going to be trained on as many games, like it can have its advantages and benefits, or its cons and benefits or whatever. But if it's a shitty upscaler, then you kind of shot yourself in the foot. And I don't know. It's just we'll have to wait and see how that turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, man, this is going to be interesting to see. I don't think even the Digital Foundry analysis now, trying to figure out which graphics card does it actually compare to, like any of that stuff, or like any of the conversations like, oh, can we have the PC that can do the same thing as the PS5 Pro? Like, which is a better choice for you? You know, like, it's a better choice if you like sitting on your ass on a couch or if you like sitting on a desk. Make that decision and then decide what you want to play on, right? Like, ultimately, people are going to play in the situation that they prefer more so than like, ooh, is it going to have like 5 more frames per second? Or is it going to have a little bit better shadows or ray tracing? You're not going to pull your ass off of your favorite area to play games all the damn time just to get that slightly better experience and pay slightly more money. Or if you're a console gamer or you're a PC gamer and you're looking to next PC, it's not like, well, I could just get the PS5 Pro and stop sitting here and go start playing on the couch on my TV. You're not going to make that decision. Either your console, you're either prefer to play on console, you prefer to play on PC, and some people switch or whatever, but it's usually because of the situation. It's not like you get sick of playing there. Now, some people hook up consoles to their monitors and play here at the desk, and if that's the case, guess what? Hey, Series S, cheap as hell option for you to play almost every single next generation game, and a lot of them are 60 frames. So, and at 1080p, which most PC gamers play at anyway. Just the whole conversation about this whole side of it has been kind of crazy. Like, we're gonna ultimately see after the games come out repeatedly how consistent they have good improvements and if it's worth it. And the people that want it will get it. You're on mute, Jasper.
I said I wish that consoles would let you choose the resolution of your game more so, just like give you more options, because like I would always choose 1440p, because like when they upscale to 4K, like I never played on a 4K monitor. I always played on a 1440p monitor. Like I would get more frame rate if you just let me choose my own fucking resolution.
Yeah. Right. So, but it doesn't matter because you're a console gamer, Jasper.
Yeah.
Well, you're not
now. PC,
but yeah, that's the thing I've been arguing for is the options. This whole generation is give us at least 2 or 3 options. Let's consistently have that. Don't tell me that doesn't matter because it's single player first person game or any other kind of BS. Like, this was our developer vision or anything like that. Like, just make the games for the gamers, and give them the options that they want. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. So we'll see what it actually turns out to be. Also, we have information from Vince Zampella about Battlefield. This is a favorite franchise of all 3 of us here. We all played Battlefield. You did too, Fuzz, right? You played Battlefield 2042 at launch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought so. I Battlefield 2042 had. If we go back in time to, was it 2 years ago now?
22,
Yeah.
yeah, I
2022.
think.
Yeah.
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 So it was like going into holiday 2022. About this same time, there was a lot of discussion about, man, $70, no multiplayer. I mean, no campaign, right? Like, what are they doing? You take no campaign in a Battlefield game, and you had people like me and some others being like, when like it's been since Bad Company that any of us have really given a shit about a Battlefield campaign. Let's just be real. Like, the Battlefield campaigns haven't been really that great, but they've had them kind of off and on. There's been several Battlefield games in the past where they haven't had campaigns also, so it wasn't really like something out of the ordinary necessarily for Battlefield to not have a campaign. So we had some of us being like, "Hey, it's like that's we're looking for the multiplayer. It'd be awesome if it had a campaign, but it wasn't taking away any excitement from me." We had leading up to launch, we had the betas for Battlefield 2042, and those things were the most broken fucking betas I've ever played before in my life. I had shadow glitches just jumping around the entire damn screen. You had helicopters like floating. You had characters T-posing. You had dead people like had skeleton faces, and you had eyeballs popping out
Did
of
you have like
sockets.
sparkles chasing you or something
Yeah, it
like
was
in
like
the beta?
crazy shit, man. I was streaming it. It was just like weird, dude. It was like I was in the fucking Matrix, and it was just collapsing around me. I don't know what it was going on, but the beta was broken. Now, some people like Pong had a magic Xbox, and he had like a perfect experience during the beta.
I just don't think he noticed it.
There's no way he could have not noticed this stuff, man. It was like half the sky would just go black, like
Yeah.
it's just weird, crazy stuff. Pong had a magic Xbox. He had no issues during the beta. So you had a lot of negativity around the betas because it was just broken, right? So then that led into launch. So then Battlefield 2042 came out at launch, and servers worked, which was a plus for me comparatively to most Battlefield launches. You had a lot of content because you had the portal mode, which was throwing in a bunch of old content that's kind of like where you could make your own custom matches and do cool stuff from like different games from Battlefield's past. And you had the whole multiplayer stuff, but then they had kind of like this new take on classes called Specialist, and they were doing this different kind of thing there. Battlefield community didn't resonate with that. They didn't resonate with the missing features more so. That was simple things like, hey, quality of life stuff that we're used to in every fucking game. That was just somehow missing. Like, wasn't it like voice chat or something missing in the game at launch? Like just in
Yeah, I think so.
Player chat. Yeah, there was missing that. There was missing like to where you could check and see like the kill counts and stuff. Like there was like a bunch of weird shit that was just missing. I was like, why is this gone? Right. So you had this weird launch with a lot of negativity leading up to it. Then you had some key missing things, and also there was the first 3 days, the hit detection was just really bad.
I mean, it was like the first like month. I felt like
I don't know. The hit detection was the initial thing that everyone's complaining about.
That's why I stopped playing it early on.
Right.
Was just because that annoyed the shit out of me.
But that was patched. That was the first patch that came out with that lasted like a couple days or whatever, from what I remember. And so that got fixed. They added the other little features that were missing kind of over the next month or so or two. And then I was like, okay, well, this is Battlefield again, with everything included, but still that the classes, people weren't resonating. Community had just completely given up on the game. It went down to really low player numbers for Battlefield. Then they had the season updates. It turned out everyone made the game better and better and better. They changed the specializations into classes again. It's announced around some part of this time that Vince Zampella was named head of Battlefield franchise. Yep. They made some changes with some of the studios and stuff like that, and that he was going to be heading up the next
and close the studio.
Yeah, that is going to be heading up the next Battlefield game and stuff like that. Listening to all the feedback and things, and at the same time, we also got concerned because it seemed like they were kind of giving up on this Battlefield with some of those announcements. But then it turned out they kept updating it, and it became like a normal Battlefield cycle. And if you play Battlefield 2042 today, it is a fucking awesome experience. They got lots of content. The game has all the features there. It has really great maps.
They actually kind of like made some fun modes out of it. Like I played the Dead Space mode. Like it kind of sucked, but like at least they were trying like experimental stuff with like the zombies for like the Dead Space mode and stuff. So I don't know. At least they were trying to have fun like weekend modes and stuff.
Yeah, but it was for me. It was like overall, it's been a good Battlefield. It had a really weird launch, but it's been a good game. But now we have Vince Zampella now, who's in charge of the Battlefield franchise, trying to salvage and save the franchise and bring the community excitement kind of back a little bit. And he had some things to say today about Battlefield.
I will say it's interesting that we got this news because I remember the last Battlefield news we had is like it's where they opened that studio was like Riptide or whatever the hell it was called they made. Just for Battlefield, and then like 2 years after they made that studio for Battlefield, they closed the studio before they even put out a game. So it's like, what the fuck are y'all doing? So,
yeah, for sure. Brett Bingham in the chat earlier too. I want to read this because he's in the development side of things. So Sony and PlayStation going full FAFO with PSSR. Experimenting with your own first draft rather than using tried and true versions is likely to turn into Acme brand TNT. What's FAFO?
I don't know, but he's basically saying like they're coming up with their own shit instead of using like FSR or DLSS. Like,
right.
Why don't you use the stuff that's already tested out there and known instead of making new shit?
I think what they're probably doing is they just work on like AMD and kind of tweak what their FSR is slightly just so they can call it their own proprietary thing. I mean, that kind of seems Sony style a little bit. Like, hey, because they're working with AMD, it's their hardware, right? So like, it's got to be AMD is making the actual GPUs and stuff, right? So like, if they're making all this stuff for the PlayStation, you would think that it's kind of like,
it's more so that it's like you know how like there's ChatGPT and there's all these other AI models.
Yeah,
it's more like they're making their own AI model instead of just using the AI model that's already out there that everyone uses. It works.
But
so it's like they're gonna have to train this new model from scratch, pretty much. That's why it's a problem.
But like, is it the same? But this is what I'm saying though. It's probably actually more or less just the AMD one, just like slightly tweaked.
Yeah.
Like, so they can put their name on it, and that's part of the agreement with AMD. Like, I'm just trying to think of it from a company perspective, and like, PlayStation's the kind that wants to have their own branding on everything, and like their own like, this is our technology, this is our thing, or this is our this, and we know it's the AMD hardware that's inside of there, but they still want to claim, oh, this is PlayStation technology or whatever. But AMD is making it, right? Like they're making the hardware side of
like Apple.
So like,
I will say
it's kind of like a deal that they have to like, hey, let's slightly change it so we can claim it's our own, and we're gonna label it this for marketing purposes.
I mean, I could be completely wrong because with what Intel did with their first generation launch with XeSS, like they came out the gate with a pretty good upscaler. Like, I mean, Sony has a chance of having one at least because Intel was able to do it, and they haven't been in the GPU game ever.
Okay, so Brett Bingham says FAFO, duh. Fuck around and find out. It's missing the A there. Yeah, fuck around and find out. Yeah, okay. I thought it was another acronym for Sony and all this other shit. They did use PSSR, which is pisser.
Sir.
So I honestly think it's probably close to some version of FSR that's just slightly tweaked.
Yeah. What was the one they recently announced? The FSR 4 or something?
Yeah. Is it a surprise that this was talked about around the same time that PSSR was announced? I mean,
I don't even think. I mean, FSR 3 is barely off the ground now, so it's like
Yeah.
Let's slow down.
I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to think for the way these companies would work, and not necessarily what they're marketing to us. And
Mhm.
it just doesn't make sense from a heart, like, because the tech, I don't, maybe I'm completely wrong, but the tech has to be capable with inside the GPU, right?
Mhm.
That's why it's made by AMD, and that's why they have certain versions are able to be used on different GPUs and stuff, right? Like at a certain point, like I think they could have.
Yeah, well, FSR is open source, so you can use it on any GPU, whereas
Okay.
NVIDIA's
But you
is
can
locked.
use, so you
DLS
can
is
use
locked
like
in.
FSR4 like on like an
Yeah.
NVIDIA
Well,
1070.
kind of like I think there's certain features that you can't use, but you can use the basic thing of what FSR is, where it's just an upscaler. Like there's some
Right,
other
right,
like
right.
stuff within it that you can't use because you need was it mesh shaders or whatever? But
Mhm.
basically, you can use FSR in any GPU because it's open source technology.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how it works. I'm just thinking they probably work with AMD on the damn thing. So, and
Yeah.
it just seems like it would make sense because they're the ones making the actual hardware. So they would need to figure that out. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But you're going to be able to choose between FSR or PSSR potentially on some of these games.
The game developers were probably like Sony first party stuff is probably gonna be mandatory PSSR, whereas I'm hoping they don't mandate that for third parties, whereas third parties can still choose because
So
then,
then they could use DLSS or
well, they can't use DLSS because that's NVIDIA, but they could use FSR
okay.
or PISR.
So DLSS isn't open source.
No,
No,
you have to have a
just
You have
NVIDIA
to have it.
GPU.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about
and
Intel's
certain ones
version?
for certain.
XCSS is open. You can use that on any card, but
Okay.
it doesn't really work that great on non-Intel cards. So I would only use that if you had an Intel card.
Right. I
And
know,
there
like
aren't
if
as
you,
many developers that put it in there as well. I've only seen the option, at least on the last handful of games, on like 2 or 3 out of like 10 fairly recent games. PC, that is, obviously.
Yeah.
okay, anyway, back to Battlefield, which will probably have, you're going to be able to choose PIS or FSR or XCS or I don't know. I have no fucking clue. Maybe they won't give us an option and it'll just be running behind the scenes and we have no clue what fucking technology they're
Yeah,
using.
that's probably what's going to end up being.
Right.
Yeah, it's EA, yeah, more than likely.
The only game on console I know that you can choose is the Magic first person shooter game that came out, Immortals of Avium. That you could choose FSR3. That was like one of the first games that you could choose that worked
Right.
on console.
So I think some of the games, maybe it's just like in the different modes, like if you have a performance
Yeah,
mode or graphics
that's how they
mode,
do
it
it.
might automatically just use that technology and you don't know what it is or whatever that they're
Yeah,
using.
so
And,
usually how the performance in like native modes work on consoles is like native, it's like upscaled to 4K through FSR, and then like performance mode they usually upscale to 1080p or 1440p.
right. And just give you more performance.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. All right, so back to Battlefield again. Sorry. Yeah, Battlefield. This is by Cat Bailey on IGN. I hate reading anything from IGN, but they had a legitimate exclusive. This is different than a Hip Hop Gamer exclusive because this is actually an interview with Vincent Pella. So we're gonna actually have talk here with Vincent, not us, but they had a talk with Vincent Pella regarding Battlefield. So this exclusive. Vincent Pella confirms next Battlefield will use modern setting. First concept art revealed. So concept art just shows a shit ton of fire explosions and buildings collapsing and water and helicopters and all this kind of shit. I'll go ahead and bring on
I
this
was
screen.
watching Jack Fragg's video about that, and like he was kind of, I think it may have been the article he was reading, but they were breaking down. It's like we can clearly see that it's a modern battlefield. It seems like it might have wildfires as like a destructive element that
Yeah.
comes through because that entire mountainside's on fire. It seems like helicopter combat's back because they have like multiple helicopters, and ship combat's back. So
Yeah, and we see these like screamers here, this missile trails, like can't
yeah.
missile. Anyway, you have like several of those. Like you got here's the fire you're talking about over here, and you have your buildings and explosions and boats and helicopters and all this craziness. Looks like
I just hope
Battlefield.
Levolution's back.
Yeah.
Mm.
I see Levolution for me, like where the like you have the like one big event that happens in the middle of the match. I never cared as much about that as I cared about
Yeah, I
the
like the blowing up a whole fucking
exact
small building and like leveling the
ex-
whole town.
exactly. That's what I want. That's I want to like run over buildings with tanks or run through walls and
Yeah.
shit like that. You know, like if these fuckers have been holding down this damn building and you got to get to the objective and they've been kicking our ass and they've been in the windows, I want to be able to take a fucking tank and just drive through that wall and ram it up their ass and just fucking like take them out that way. Say, screw you guys, I'm sick of it. Whereas like some of the battlefields, like, oh, you can't do that anymore. You know, I love that aspect of Battlefield. They also Battlefield has some competition now because that Blackhawk game has been getting a lot of traction. Blackhawk Delta Force, is that
Delta Force.
Yeah.
Blackhawk
Yeah.
Delta Force
Hawk Ops.
Hawk Ops, whatever. Okay. It's the Black Hawk Down story, right? Kind of. In the
Yeah, that's
campaign?
one of the.
Well, they have-
That's going to be the campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the modes or something. But the other stuff reminds me kind of like what do you call them? Ghost Recon to some extent. Looking at it, as far as the look of the enemies, because they got like bright red on, which I don't understand why an enemy would have bright red and camo. But
Yeah. Game Pass Dad's has been streaming the alpha of that a lot. He did a lot of giveaways for codes. I think or sometime next year is going to come to consoles at some point. And it's going to be an interesting game. I think it has a chance to actually take off a little bit because I was watching some of his streams, and this game is fucking Battlefield. I mean, it might as well be Battlefield.
It was really fun. It's just I didn't like want to put too much time into it because like you have to unlock a bunch of attachments and stuff. And I didn't feel like having to figure out the best gun and putting all the attachments on there. I was like, whatever, I'll just play a couple hours of it.
Did it
So I didn't
feel like Battlefield?
Yeah, I mean, it was Battlefield.
Right. I wonder if it feels as much like Battlefield as that Tiberium Rising game or Tempest Rising game feels like Command and Conquer. You know, because that's like Command and Conquer straight up. Dude.
I mean, it literally just felt like another Battlefield. Okay. But just like there was some weird stuff like there's an exosuit where you can like pop your exosuit and you can run real fast. So they have special powers and stuff. But
does it have the full destruction for buildings and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Battlefield needs to have that because that's they're gonna have some competition. But anyway, so this article ahead of Investor Day on September 17th, EA revealed fresh details on its untitled Battlefield game alongside its first official concept art, which IGN can exclusively reveal for the first time. IGN can also confirm that Battlefield will be returning to a modern setting after stints in World War I, World War II, and the near future. I'm excited about that too. I like modern settings and stuff. While EA is cagey about specifics when it comes to the concept art, including declining to name of the city where it's set, although it looks a lot like Italy, France, or somewhere else in Europe, it does include details that should stand out to longtime fans of the series. Among other things, it appears to suggest that ship-to-ship and helicopter combat will be part of the new game, and that it will feature natural disasters like wildfires. Its grayish color scheme is evocative of Battlefield 4, which remains one of the most popular games in the series despite releasing a decade ago. Battlefield goes back to the basics. All of it points to a back-to-basics approach for the next Battlefield. Indeed, head of Respawn and Group GM for EA Studios organization Vince Zampella is quick to shout out Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 in the course of sitting down with IGN to talk about these new reveals. On the decision to return to the modern era, Zampella says, I mean, if you look back to the peak or the pinnacle of Battlefield, it's that Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 era where everything was modern. And I think we have to get back to the core of what Battlefield is and do that amazingly well. And then we'll see where it goes from there. But I think for me, it's that peak of Battlefieldness in that Battlefield 3 and 4 days. So I think it's nostalgic for players, for me, for the teams even. Those are kind of the heyday, although I would say 1942 also. The return to the modern setting represents a course correction for the series after Battlefield 2042, which eventually found its footing but was otherwise widely panned for features like Specialist, characters that made it seem as if Battlefield was trying to be a hero shooter. Its ambitious 128-player maps also proved unpopular with fans who preferred a more focused experience. Battlefield 2042 eventually went back to supporting 64 players per maps. It had both at the launch. So they were always supporting 64 players, but they did have also the 128 players. And the next Battlefield plans to stick to that approach. I'd rather have nice, dense, really nice, well-designed play spaces. Some of them are really good. Yeah, the 128 player, did it make it more fun? Like, doing the number for the sake of the number doesn't make any sense. We're testing everything around what's the most fun. So like you said, the maps, once they get to a certain scale, become different. It's a different play space, and I think you have to design around that. So we're designing something that is more akin to previous Battlefields, Zampella says. I'd rather have nice, dense, really nice, well-designed play spaces. Some of them are really good. I can't wait for you to see some of them. Some of them are really good. They all need to be really good, Vince. What's up? Only some of them are. It's only some of your maps are really good. Just kidding. Anyway, Specialists are also out this time around. So I wasn't there for 2042. I don't know what the rationale was, but for me, it's like the team tried something new. You have to apply that effort. Not everyone liked it, but you got to try things. It didn't work. It didn't fit. Specialists will not be coming back. So classes are kind of at the core of Battlefield, and we're going back to that, Sapella says. He's careful to stress that Battlefield 2042 wasn't a failure of a game. Despite not doing as well as hoped, he notes that the development team really spent a lot of time learning how to adapt it and get things back. Still, he says EA doesn't want a repeat of the experience it had with 2042. We want it to be good out of the gate. It adds up to what one might call classic Battlefield, but bigger. Big enough that it merits the efforts of 4 separate studios in DICE, Motive, Ripple Effect, and Criterion. EA CEO Andrew Wilson claims it's one of the most ambitious projects in EA's history. Nevertheless, Zampella remains vague on what all this actually entails. Yeah, it's definitely bigger on Battlefield. It's going in and expanding what Battlefield is. We have to have the core. The core Battlefield players know what they want. They've been with us forever. They've been amazing supporters. We need to earn their trust back and get them back on our side. And then it's expanding out and getting more players into the universe and seeing what we can do. So when you want a different experience, you don't have to leave Battlefield. You can experience more things within the Battlefield universe. So we're expanding the offerings that we're giving. So, you know, I'm kind of going to cut it off there, but like, because he goes into like competing against other games and all this other kind of stuff, which they're going to have some. I mean, Battlefield's always had competition. I mean, Call of Duty, Halo, even they launched around one of their own games before in Titanfall, EA did. Like, they've always been competing in the shooter space, right? But Battlefield 2042 for me had kind of marked like the low moment for the franchise at launch. With as much negativity as there was around the franchise that I ever remember. So you kind of have that in the back of players' minds and not trusting EA as much as they used to.
That's the thing that's interesting about his comments he made. He's like, yeah, we have all these studios and we don't want to repeat the same mistakes as we made before. And we don't want to repeat 2042, but one of the major complaints of 2042 was no campaign. But then they shut down. I just looked up Ridgeline, the studio that they made just for the Battlefield campaign. They shut down 2 years after they made it. So it's like, are we still getting a campaign? Because that was one of the major complaints.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say because for me, I still liked Battlefield 2042. You know, and like I think they could have done things better, especially at launch, not missing those features, right? Like,
I mean, I don't care about the campaign either,
yeah.
but I'm just saying that's like the main complaint.
And in Vince Zampella, we trust. There's, you know, like he does a lot of great things, but then also I've been critical even like of Jedi Survivor at launch. I thought like there was a lot of issues there. You know what I mean? So it's not like everything's always perfect, you know. But like he's been behind Titanfall. He's been behind Apex Legends. He's been behind both Jedi games. Before that, he created Call of Duty. Before that, he created Medal of Honor. Like, with other people. I'm not just giving him all the credit. You know what I mean? But he was part of those teams. So, yeah, Vince Zampella's like an amazing developer. And even if not everything's always perfect, it's been, for the most part, great. Good to great, right? And when he was announced as taking this role, kind of as head of the Battlefield franchise, it was like, hey, this is great news. So he's saying all the right things here. But he's also saying a lot of the stuff that EA's always said in the past about all of their games and all of their franchises and all and their town hall things they have when a game fails and all these other kind of things. So it's not like, oh, this is like a different than we've heard before. I mean, they said this little kinds of stuff and then launched a game disastrously. You know what I mean? Like, so it's hard to trust exactly everything they're saying, but it is different coming from Vince a little bit. I expect, just like every other Battlefield franchise game, it's going to come out with some issues, whether it be servers, glitches, bugs, features, whatever, right? But we'll see if they can get the marketing and get the fans back on their side before launch. I think that's going to be kind of the most important thing. Did you have any takeaways from what Vince said here, Fuzz?
I think the big thing is I'll wait and see. Like I've been disappointed by EA on some of their launches and stuff like that, but it sounds like they want to kind of not really scale things back, but go back to what they're best known for with Battlefield, the way Battlefield 4 was and stuff when that had everybody's attention back in the day. I'm hoping that they learn from their mistakes or previous things they've tried that didn't quite pan out with the fan base. Since they're not doing the operators type of thing again, they're just going back to the class stuff. That's great. I don't know. I'm hoping there's a campaign, but if there isn't, I may not pick it up day one, but I'll pick it up eventually. But I do like having a campaign at least of some sort. Then again, I'm getting one with Call of Duty, so it's not as much of a have to have. Just as long as they have the combat where you have the vehicles, you have the destruction abilities that you would normally expect out of a Battlefield game. You guys are saying being able to have the tank and take out the sniper locations. That's got to be a key thing. You can't just have it where you shoot there and hit the player. Just tumble the building that either tumble the building on them or tumble just the top part of it on their head kind of deal and go from there. As long as they have that stuff working for them, yeah, this will be hopefully a good launch. But I don't know. I'm still of the wait and see when it comes to anything EA, just because like Survivor kind of pissed me off. 2042 pissed me off only because of at least in the betas, it was people in the walls or in the air conditioning vents or whatever being able to shoot out, but you couldn't shoot them inside whatever they were trapped in. So they had glitched into certain areas they weren't supposed to be in. But there were a couple other things that were kind of weird, whether it's the hit detection or stuff like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But I'm more, I wouldn't say pessimistic, but I am a little, I guess, skeptical of how it's going to launch. And then probably after you guys have fun with it, it's like, oh yeah, it's in a good place. Right, yeah, I'll go ahead and fork over cash for it, kind of thing at that point. But we'll see.
Right on, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't. Anytime a Battlefield launches, it's awesome. And it usually they take 3 years between games or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if they're starting this conversation now because they have something ready to announce maybe like later this year. Like, because he said that the investor call is coming up in a few days. He's talking about this in an interview before the investor call. Maybe it's going to kind of come out in the investor call that like, hey, this game is not going to be like as far away. Maybe it's next year or something.
I'm betting 26 still.
26?
Yeah.
4 studios working on it. Could be. I don't know. It could be either. If it's probably better if it's 2026.
Because I feel like they reveal it next year and then it comes out 26.
I'm just wondering why he's doing this interview now before the investor call about Battlefield specifically. It's almost like news is going to come out about Battlefield at this investor call, so he wants to get ahead of this with an interview specifically about Battlefield. Right?
Probably.
That's the only reason I could think, because it's kind of random timing for it,
Yeah.
I
don't know. I guess the big thing that they probably are having to look at is where does GTA 6 land? And is Call of Duty actually going to skip a year? I
Well,
have my
EA
doubts on
doesn't
that
give a shit
aspect.
about dates. I mean, they'll put their games the same fucking day, pretty much.
That's true. They've done that
True.
plenty of times. So we'll see. I mean, I have high hopes, and I do have more faith in the franchise with Vince Sampella under the helm. Right now, it seems like they're saying a lot of what they think the fans want to hear. But his track record with shooters, undeniable. So we'll see. We'll see what makes it. We do also have some more info on a game, actually, well, an expansion technically coming out this month. And I know I'm super excited because we actually got a deep dive trailer today about Shattered Space, Starfield Shattered Space expansion. And that's what I want to kind of get into here because as I alluded to at the beginning of the show, this seems like they were also trying to talk to the hardcore Bethesda fans, the ones that wanted that like more handcrafted, bigger world experience as far as instead of traveling to a bunch of different places and stuff. It seems like that was the core messaging on this Shattered Space trailer. And just to give a little bit of details, they kind of revealed that it's an all-inclusive story that all takes place on, I think it's Varun Kai or Varun Dai, one of the, I can't remember the name of it specifically, the House Varun planet, right, the home planet. It's a handcrafted, all-inclusive story that all takes place there, right? And they said they handcrafted a larger space and stuff for all of this to take place at. There's in the deep dive trailer they talk about there was a incident when they were experimenting with gravity or something, and it caused all these anomalies and this horrible thing, and the people that run the planet are kind of trapped inside this gravity anomaly, and they're like palace looking place and stuff, and you have all these factions vying for power now and stuff, and so you have what looks like an interesting cast of characters. It's a story that I've been more looking forward to because I did play through the Andrasia as a companion story, and you get to know more about Varun a little bit through that, and it just seems like a crazy, mysterious, dark, and twisted kind of a culture a little bit, and I want to explore that. It's kind of like a cult that kind of got out of hand, you know. And yeah, it looks great, man. The graphics look great. The setting looks really cool, and I think they're trying to give players some of what they've wanted. Did you have a chance to watch that, Fuzz?
Oh yeah, and they immediately answered one of the questions that, or one of the concerns I had about, like, if you start this story beat, are you trapped to the planet kind of thing? And you can at any time leave the planet, but the story only happens on the planet. So that's the good thing.
Right.
I didn't want a situation almost like with the Division where, you know how when you were doing like the what was it, the Lords
Warlords
of
of
New
New
York or
York.
something? Yeah, you had to basically complete that before you could go back to DC. I'm glad that they have where you can start the story and be like, you know what, I want to try something else, and then go somewhere, and then you can always come back and pick it up where you left off. But handcraftedness of this, the fact that it's going to be just this planet, and you got almost like two dimensions to some extent because it looks like these spider things pop out of nowhere, but they're, I guess, there but in another dimension, and if you get into their bubble or whatever, or into their area, they like lash out and attack, and you got like creepy people trying to follow you to stab you or cut you up or something like that. So looks like it's going to be kind of like a more of a horror spin in a way, which I'm actually looking forward to without it being a Dead Space like type situation. I like the fact that there's going to be these threats as you roam around and try to explore and figure out, I guess, if you can make it to the palace or what. So yeah, it looks interesting.
My questions what I had is like, how does the ending of the base game affect this? Like, because I always stopped right before the ending. Like, I'd played the ending and just reloaded to save before it. So like, how does that loop? Like, if you go through the loop of the ending of the game, like, does that affect this DLC, or does it just like, do they not even mention that?
I kind of think this is going to exist separately, whether you beat the campaign or not.
Mhm.
Like as just a place you can go and experience this extended story in a way. But I'm
But
not
that's the thing
sure.
is like if you go through the like some of the loops are like crazy where like all the people are kids or flower pots where the fuck they were. So it's like, does that not affect it? Like if you're in one of those loops?
Yeah, I
I
don't know.
wonder too. I think it probably would. Like if you have the flower pot one, although I think that's one of the faster ones you can kind of loop through or something. Um, y- if you're on that particular ending or that playthrough, then they will probably be flower pots there too, and then we'll just have to complete the Unity one more time and then go for there. But then it might wind up having it where it's not in sync with what would be the first playthrough story that you would go through on that, or maybe it's just completely separate. Maybe because of the anomalies, that planet is isolated from whatever you do with the
That's
Unity
probably
and
how they'll
stuff.
do it.
Yeah, because that would be weird if they're just kids or if there's like duplicate versions of certain players or characters and things that involve there. So yeah.
Yeah, other thing takeaway I got from this, and you're kind of seeing this a little bit on the screen. I got a little bit more of like horror vibes, right? And some of the settings because you're going through like here on the screen. I have you're going through like a space station esque type or building or whatever, and you can tell something bad happened here, right? And you're going through, and it seems like you're trying to investigate. And as they got the creepy music playing, and they got all this stuff happening, and then a guy jumps out at you and stuff. So, there, I remember hearing some people be like, "There's not enough horror in Starfield," which is a weird thing because I remember playing some levels where there was some gore and some horror stuff in there, but this seems like they're kind of going with a darker approach also to fit with that, more mature a little bit. Does that intrigue you at all, Jasper, as far as them going that approach?
I will say this kind of feels like they, for Skyrim, for example, like they kind of had like smaller DLCs and then they had their kind of premium DLCs. Like
Yeah.
one of the DLCs where like you turn into a vampire werewolf. This seems more like that premium DLC where you actually it's going to be like a almost just an extended story. So I'm excited that it's not just some like small add-on. Like because that was my fear with it when it was like the first DLC. Like usually the first DLCs are pretty small.
Yeah.
Um, so at least it gives me hope for that this is actually going to be a meaningful DLC.
Well, when they talked about it, remember they had like a Starfield dev diary thing not too long ago. It was a few months ago or earlier this year. At that time when they talked about some of the updates coming, I think this was when they added mod support. They had talked about, Shattered Space was coming later this year and it's going to be like gigantic or something, So when they said that at that time, I was like, okay, this is gonna be a pretty big deal. Now, also, you get if you were one of the people that has Game Pass and you wanted the early access, and so you decided to spend the extra $34.99 for early access and content. This comes with that. This was the DLC expansion that's included in the premium edition that you upgraded to. I don't know what the price is separately. Does anybody have the price for Shattered
I think it
Space?
was 29.99, but if you have Game Pass, I think it drops to 26.99 or
Okay,
something like that.
so that's
So
it's a pretty decent sized price for an expansion. So like it's got to have quite a bit of content.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
on the Xbox PC app. It's $30 right now, but you can pre-order for 27.
man, so yeah, if we upgraded to that premium edition for 35, we got a pretty sweet deal, right? You got that, you got
mhm.
the early access and other stuff. So
Some
overall,
skins and the art book.
yeah, yeah,
Art
overall,
book
man,
is pretty cool.
yeah, and the soundtrack too, like the digital soundtrack. Um,
Yeah.
Overall, this looks pretty cool, man. There's actually these gravity anomalies you can kind of fly on the planet and stuff too. It's pretty cool. They have new guns and everything.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, one of the best games out there. Doesn't need to be saved. Insider Gaming writer, whoever you are that wrote that article. This game doesn't need to be saved. But it seems like this is something substantial that a lot of players may have been looking for. So anyway, any other takeaways, guys? Last thoughts on Starfield or things you're excited for?
Just looking forward to it. Like I think is you guys remember I said I probably won't be playing Motorsport at launch because I was so into Starfield.
Yeah.
So I've purposely put it down and I won't revisit it until Shattered Space because I know I'll just like it's probably why I'm falling into State of Decay 2 now. And I did that kind of with Diablo. Originally, I was going to wait for the expansion with Diablo, and it's like, oh, and I played it, and I think I did. Was it for season 5? I'm already like level 70 or 80 or something like that, and I only have like about a week or so worth into that character. So yeah, I can't wait. I'm hoping there are some additional fixes because I still have on one of my playthroughs Atlantis. After you go to the landing pad, like that little area where the checkpoint is,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
floor is gone on only one of my playthroughs.
I don't think that's ever getting fixed. I think it's your world's just corrupted.
Yeah, and then the other one, I have a weird one where I can't go to the Unity anymore, and Starborn, if they land, or any enemy for that matter, when their ship lands, nearby and they start to attack you, or any enemy that lands on a planet, they don't come out the ship. They can go in their ship sometimes, but they won't ever come out. And it's like, I forget what I did that I busted that one. I think it was a Starborn ship landed where I was when I was Starborn, and then I went into their before I was Starborn, went into their ship as they were coming out, and then it broke all future things of enemies coming out of ships or something. So I guess it's on me
I had a
for
weird
playing
bug the other
around.
day because I've had Starfield downloaded and I've just kind of been dipping my toes into it recently. But where like every single planet and all the stuff on the maps were like, it was just like a default texture. It said like texture swap coming soon or some shit, and like so I had to uninstall the game and reinstall the game just so my planets would actually have textures.
Did you have a mods installed or was it just the game?
No, I haven't downloaded a
Yeah.
single mod.
Yeah, there's weird bugs in this game sometimes, man. Kate had one with some mods that she had installed, and it caused her to be like stuck to where like she couldn't grab jump between planets. So she was like stuck in the same system until. So we had to do a bunch of stuff. Eventually, that we got that fixed too. But that's kind of like, man, it's sad to say. It's like why it's Bethesda. Their games are like so crazy, ambitious, and big, and with all this shit that they're doing, that sometimes these weird ass things happen, man. Like, but I do hope that this has fixes. But as with additional content, it'll probably also introduce its own set of issues, right? As par for the course, and then they'll keep fixing it and get better. One other aspects because I remember specifically when Cyberpunk had a big expansion, Phantom Liberty, it was a candidate for ongoing game. So does Shattered Space potentially qualify Starfield for best ongoing game, as it was snubbed before at the Game Awards?
It should.
Like, what other games would be in that criteria now that Cyberpunk has set the standard? That
Sea of Thieves because it came out on
expansions.
PlayStation this year.
Do you think they actually do that now?
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Hmm. I'm just saying, like, if this is really well received, right, and people love it, then because Phantom Liberty was there, that set a precedent that expansions like this qualify a game for being introduced into that category.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just my only fear is that the ones that make the decisions are probably somewhat biased in a way that they're still going to try and snub this. I don't know. I feel Starfield won't get its true flowers until it's on PS5, if ever. But it's almost like they're gonna hold this grudge until that something like that's announced, kind of thing.
Until it's on the
And
PS5 Pro.
Yeah, because then
Oh,
that will be its redeeming quality. Oh,
yeah.
now because it's on the
Oh,
Pro,
that's
it's
true. I
it's
was trying to think of the big DLCs, but Antonio in the chat mentioned it, Elden Ring.
Yeah. Well, I
yeah,
didn't say Shattered Space has to win. I said, will it be nominated? Right? Will it be
yeah.
acknowledged in the category? Right? Like Elden. I think you guys are right. Probably Elden Ring. What was the name of the DLC for that again?
I don't even
Something
remember.
tree or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
the some Erd Tree.
Erd Tree. Yeah, Shadow of Erd
Yeah.
Tree. I think is what it's. Yeah. Yeah, that'll probably win best ongoing game because they'll find a way to give Elden Ring more awards. Um,
But then the other 4 games are just gonna be like Fortnite,
yeah,
Roblox, shit like that.
very possible.
Yeah,
It'll just be interesting to see. Keep an eye on.
Oh, Genshin Impact. That'll be one of them.
yeah.
How
Hey, but
long
now at
does
least Genshin Impact's on Xbox.
how
So.
long does a game have to be out to qualify for that?
I would say if it's like the year after it came out, like, because if it's still getting support, then why
I,
not?
here's one, right? With the turn that happened this year because of the Fallout show. What if Fallout
Mhm.
76 actually was nominated for best ongoing game?
I could see
That
it.
actually should get it. That should get a nod, definitely.
That had a
And
huge
they had a
resurgence.
major update too. They added new
Yeah.
landmass and stuff.
Another one is Elder Scrolls Online. Gold Road came out this year, which was well received by the community. Um, but I think Fallout, was a bigger thing this year for sure. So maybe it takes releasing a really great show to win best ongoing game.
Then so we're just voting for best show pretty much at this point.
Right. Because Edge Runners helped Cyberpunk have a resurgence, and then people were really hyped for Phantom Liberty, right? Then you had Fallout show had this huge resurgence. Obviously, Elden Ring doesn't have a show, but it probably will eventually. Yeah, but I think maybe that's what it takes. So, Starfield, where's the show?
Yeah. Come on, Todd. Greenlight it.
I think they probably will do a show for Starfield at some point.
I hope they do. Because, like, being the sci-fi fan, and I'm probably not as current on the more recent Star Trek spin-offs and things like that, but having something like this, I think, would be a nice change of pace without it having to have like an established crew other than like maybe the some of your companions for Starfield, and then they can just have a generic character, kind of like what they did for Fallout show, even though she's not generic, but
Yeah.
have something along those lines as like the main character mixed in with the group that they've already cast and stuff. And I think that would come out awesome.
Well, first of all, we don't talk about the new Star Trek shows. Second of all, a lot of sci-fi shows are like really expensive to make, so they kind of like
Yeah.
end up stagnant on certain places. So like, I mean, they could do that with like they go to this planet for like 2 or 3 episodes, find whatever they're looking for there, and it's like, oh, actually, this person's on this planet, and they go there. Like, I could see them telling like a story like that, but I don't know. It's just a lot of studios, like from what I know, they don't like doing sci-fi shows because it's a lot of expensive CGI and stuff.
The interesting thing about that
Point.
category, best ongoing game, is there's just so many games because it's like a lot of games that are these what people call black hole games that people keep playing, forever. That it just is an expansive category. It's almost like you almost need to narrow that down even more, right? Because, like Antonio Newman said, I think the bigger snub will be if Xbox doesn't get any of their games nominated for that category, which has happened several times. Most of the year, like they don't get
I
any
think it
of their
was last
games.
year they didn't have a
Yeah,
single
like,
game, right?
but you really think about it, they have some of the most popular ongoing games, like in gaming. They have Minecraft, right? They
Mhm.
have Sea of Thieves. They have Grounded. They have uh, Call of Duty Warzone now. They have Diablo. They have
I think it's just because some of those games have been around for so long that people
yeah,
just it's just kind of like, yeah, that's what that game is,
yeah.
and no
But
one really cares.
Fortnite gets nominated all the time. That came out a long ass time ago.
I don't think Fortnite was nominated last year.
Was it not? I wonder. Destiny usually gets nominated, or has at times.
Yeah.
If Destiny gets nominated this year for that award and not any of the Xbox games, like after the year that Bungie had with Destiny, I know they had a good launch for Final Shape and the fans were happy with it for the most part, right? But like, that's also kind of marking maybe the end of big expansions for it, right? So I don't know. It's just there's a
They'll,
lot.
they'll get the pity they'll get the pity nomination, and the trophy will be one of the cars that dude bought. kind of
Oh
thing.
my god. Yeah, you win a Pete Parsons car. Right on. Well, are we ready for our last segment here, Fuzz?
Yeah.
Right on. All right, everybody, this is the last segment for FSP. It's called This is Tidbits, where we look ahead at the week of game releases and let's see what we have in store this week. Where are we sourcing these from now, Fuzz?
I still have a little bit of access thanks to Wayback Machine. Plus, I try to look at the store for what's coming or what's like coming out this week. But this one here is Phoenix Springs for PC. It's out now as of this Monday for $19.99. But at the moment, just PC.
Never forget that even the right leads.
Looks.
Even the
Whoa!
right
What was
leads
that?
can lead to the wrong place.
It almost reminds me of like an art film horror kind of thing. So.
Yeah, interesting. That comes out today.
Yep. All right, the next one is UFO 50, which I don't know if this thing was in like early access, but I guess it's official 1.0 or remaster or something. Comes out on Wednesday for $19.99 only on PC at the moment.
This looks like a collection of
This
games.
this is not what I thought this was from the title.
Think of it as like old Atari and NES days kind of thing. Oh, like Atari style games, but with a Nintendo look, I guess is about the best way to put it.
Are these not just like remakes or a collection of old games?
It's a collection of some old stuff that originally I think this was released 7 years ago, and I think this is kind of like a relisting of it. I don't know if they've really done that much as far as the updates visually, because it kind of looked the same as it did from 7 years ago.
Why is it called UFO 50?
I think it's because it's 50 different games from this particular publisher or developer.
Oh, okay. I've never seen any of these games before.
It's kind of like when you would go to like Blockbuster back in the day. There's always this weird game on the shelf. So it was like 500 games in this one thing.
All right, I wonder if these are like actual classic games or if they're just new games that they made to look old.
They're like some of them are classic indie games kind of thing.
Okay, interesting.
This next one is Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster.
Ooh,
coming to PS5, Series X and S.
I still wish this looked
PC.
a little better.
I think it looks a good bit better than it did on 360.
This is one that's been like they removed some things, right? So this got some controversy around that, right?
Yeah, they changed some races too in here, like. So they've done some editing.
So Mr. Waffle says it's 50 new games they made, and they're all full games, not mini games. Okay, interesting.
I think they also changed some of the outfits on some of the characters.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything upsetting so far.
I think at some point I'll pick this up.
Yeah,
'Cause like I said,
same.
I'm still on my zombie killing kick.
I don't think I ever finished this Dead Rising because it was so fucking hard back in the day because I was a stupid kid.
You're out of time.
It looks pretty good to me, man. For a remaster.
Yeah. All right. The next one is Inotria, The Last Song. If anybody remembers, this was the one that was originally coming to the Series X and S, and then
Or
I guess
wasn't, then they wanted to, then it wasn't because they didn't get a response, and then now there is again.
yeah. For right now, it's just PS5 and PC. I don't know if Xbox is not returning their call still.
No,
Whatever.
they made a post saying like, "Oh, thanks to
This
Phil
is a Souls-like.
Spencer, like this is coming to Xbox now." You know. So what happened was like they were originally it said, "Hey, you know, we're focusing on PlayStation and PC first, so we'll think about doing Xbox another time." Then they made a post saying and showing like stuff like, "Hey, we've been trying to get Xbox to respond to us for certification. Everything's good to go, but we can't get the response." And they made a big thing, right? Which, if that's an actual issue, that's an issue, right? And then they made a post like, "Hey, thanks to the outrage and Phil Spencer, we're gonna now release on Xbox at some point." So I don't know what was actually happening, but
Yeah.
it was
The
very
world
strange.
seems cool, but I just don't want to play a fucking Souls game. So
Yeah. I saw like for me, like based on other Souls games, when this was the whole hoopla was going on, I saw some of the gameplay footage of this, and it just kind of looked a little subpar to me compared to other games in the Souls genre that I've seen.
Yeah.
But that's just from somebody that's not a Souls fan with first glance.
I think Liza P may have spoiled us a bit because I really like the overall look of that one. I think that one kind of turned things up a bit. Not that Souls games have to be the prettiest looking games, but just some of the visuals, the aspects, and things like that.
just I don't
Liza P
like
kinda
all these
delivered.
different kind of Souls games. The worlds look so cool, and all the creatures are like creative and stuff. It's just like I don't want to play a fucking Souls game.
Yeah, the animations on the combat and stuff what stood out to me on the actual gameplay footage that I had seen for it. Oh, we got an age restricted one, Fuzzy Belvedere. We're not old enough. What is this one?
God of War
It was God
Ragnarok
of
was the
War.
one that.
God of War
So,
Ragnarok
I
for
guess-
PC. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hey
Alright, so
everybody,
this
God of War
is-
Ragnarok's coming to PC.
$59.99. Frostpunk 2 coming to PS5, Series X and S, and PC this Friday for $44.99.
I think this is in Game Pass, isn't it?
Yeah, PC Game Pass. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Frostpunk, the first Frostpunk, is on sale for like $3 right now on Steam if you want to play the first one. And first one has been in Game Pass. I don't know if it still is.
I'm not sure if it still is either. But yeah, like you said, you can pick it up on Steam really cheap right now. Actually,
We didn't hit that date.
Yeah,
No.
they missed that date right out a couple months.
Yeah, I'll be checking this game out.
Yeah.
When day is it? 20 or 20 or
Friday the 20th. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
All right. This next one is Karate Kid Street Rumble coming to PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. $39.99 this Friday.
3-Bit was here, he'd be really excited for this. By the way, so shout out to 3-Bit. He is back from Paris. He's got the travel bug now. So,
Wait, so is this not gonna be included with Netflix or whatever? Because I feel like this is their show, so I feel like it'd be in the Netflix game section.
I don't know if they already had it for Netflix or not, but
yeah, Frostpunk might be on
Would
sale on
make
the
sense.
Microsoft Store too. I'm not sure. This is a Game Mill game, so
Ooh, yeah, I just saw
Yeah,
that. I was like,
I just saw that too. I was like, actually, that looks pretty good until I saw that. I'm like, okay.
Hey, what did Game Mill make before that? They kind of robbed people
the
with the online or
wasn't it the
something.
Nickelodeon fighting game?
The
Was that them?
the Nickelodeon, the first one at launch,
Yeah.
like it was just like unplayably broken. Like it was weird. Remember we were streaming it. We were kind of excited because 3-Bit was like trying to sell us on this
Yeah.
game for forever. And so we were like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I'll get it. And we so we got it and we were playing it, trying to stream it. And like literally like the characters were in different places on the screens and for like our different games and stuff. Like it was just weird. And we all like it turned in for a refund on it after that day. And it was just not very good anyway. Like in general for a Rumble game, it was really bad. So, or a brawler or whatever. But yeah, ultimately I think that the second one came out and it did a little bit better. But yeah, I see that publisher and I just got my flag up a little bit for that studio. Who, if I don't know if it's a studio or publisher or whatever, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it's good.
Yeah, hopefully.
Um,
I'm kind of surprised, like from a PC standpoint. I know that there's a sale on the first God of War. It would have been nice if they did a bundle. I would have probably picked up both at that point on Steam, but Steam isn't putting those bundles together. That would be something PlayStation does. They did the PlayStation publisher sale both on Steam and on Epic. So, yeah, interesting week. Frostpunk is probably the highlight right now.
yeah.
And God of War Ragnarok, but I'm going to wait closer to the holidays and see if they put both of them on sale at the same time. Kind of thing.
So how long has it been since God of War Ragnarok came out on console? Is it been?
Was it that November last year or December last year or something like that?
No,
Like that.
year
So it's yeah. So it's close to a year or a little over the 8-month period, I think, 8 or 9-month period.
All right, I think it's been longer than that. Maybe I'm wrong. Got it.
Oh, 2022, November
Yeah,
9,
yeah, yeah.
2022.
I think it was
2 years.
3 years.
Yeah, we're a year off. So yeah, it's about a year, close to 2 years between launch on console and PC. I think that gap's gonna keep closing. GT7 came out in 2022 also, right?
I think it came out in 21. I think.
Yeah, I
Because it
thought it
came
was
out
like
like I
closer to
think a year
launch.
before. Let's see.
GT7 came out 2022 also, but it came out earlier in that year.
Oh, February, like or early in
Yeah.
the year or something. Oh,
So I wonder what that means for a potential PC release for GT7.
well, there is a rumor of a My Gran Turismo, which some people are saying it's a free to play. Some people are saying it's the PC version. I don't know. I'm hoping they make some sort of announcement to solidify exactly what that's going to be. Unless it's like something coming to PS Plus, like much like what they did with Drive Club, where it was like a stripped down version for their subscription. Even still, I'm very hopeful, wishing that they bring this to PC. I think that would be, even if it's not, carry over stuff from like what your PlayStation ID is, at least have it where it's moddable. And if it's mod friendly, like a Assetto Corsa or something like that, I think that will be a new standard for like online simulators as far as moddable ones. The big difference is with Forza, you can't mod it. The minute you mod it, you get banned or you get booted. So even when you try to do offline, it's like, oh, this doesn't match or something. So it's like, I wish Forza was a little more friendly for mods, especially if you're doing just the single player stuff. But hopefully Sony learns from that and makes it moddable or allows mods.
I would just like it to have. I would like GT7 to go to PC, so I have less reason to feel like I want to get a PlayStation again at some point. Because like if
Yeah.
right now there's just not the games announced that I'm excited to buy or play there. That I can't get on Xbox and PC, right? And you know, if they eventually have a great show and they announce some stuff, then I might be more inclined to. But GT7 is what I play the most over there, and um, it'll play best on my PC. So anyway, so um, I, that's what I'm hoping for. But we'll
And
see.
yeah, I haven't owned a PlayStation since PlayStation 3 because they stopped making the games that I like. I mean, there's like one
Mhm.
every couple years, but it's not
What
enough
was
to get me
your
to invest in there.
What was your favorite PlayStation franchise, Jasper?
I like Twisted Metal and not Splinter Cell, Siphon Filter.
Hmm.
Ah, nice.
Besides Gran Turismo, what about you, Fuzz?
There was a couple of them, but most of them are racing games. It was MotorStorm was a big one for me. Twisted Metal was up there as well, but MotorStorm, they eventually closed that studio, and then the people went to
Oh, and Resistance.
Codemasters or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Resistance was up there as well. Infamous, I kind of wish they would bring back. The Second Son version versus the earlier ones, I kind of liked a bit more. And they could probably expand to have their own superhero, so they don't have to keep on paying Marvel out the nose for licensed stuff. So bring back an Infamous, bring back Resistance. Yeah, I think Resistance would be a good fit. World War II with aliens again. I think that's
Yeah, we can just keep milking shitty Spider-Man games.
Yeah. Shitty ones. You'll get some kickback on that. I think the first one was great for me,
Yeah.
right? But the issue I had was like they didn't do enough different. I just felt like I was playing the same game with Miles Morales, and then
Mhm.
which was an expansion turned into a sequel kind of. And then
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 just showed me more or less the same again. Like yeah, I understand it's a sequel and it kind of is going to be like that, but it started to feel stale for me already with Miles Morales. So I just didn't have as much hype for Spider-Man 2.
Mhm.
But overall I enjoyed my time and playthrough of Spider-Man. I just can't finish Miles Morales because I get bored.
Yeah.
Same reason I can't finish the Horizon game. I actually trying to get into it again because I want to. So I was like wondering if playing it on PC will be any different, But like, God of War has always been the same situation. For me, it was Uncharted. I love the Uncharted games. Um, I know they're still that same kind of style. It's actually the franchise that kind of kicked off this whole era for PlayStation, right? But there's something still like with the story and the personalities of the characters that I really enjoy. Like I like Nathan Drake a lot with the character. I like the whole Indiana Jonesy like esque stuff going on there. So I loved
Mhm.
Uncharted. I like Infamous a lot. I love that franchise. We'll probably never see that again. We'll never see probably another Infamous, which is sad to me because
Yeah.
they got Spider-Man now. That's their superhero franchise kind of that they're rocking with, and Infamous was kind of like their take on a superhero game, you know.
Mhm. And Sucker Punch is definitely going to make some more Ghosts.
Yeah, which is on my list of favorite franchises now for PlayStation. So I think when Ghost of Tsushima
Yeah.
2 comes out, there's gonna be a lot of hype. I really liked SOCOM back in the day. Yeah,
I think I'm most curious about with Sony's upcoming lineup is just whatever Ben's working on. I just want to know what that game is.
Yeah, they made an RPG back in the day, Rogue Galaxy. I loved that game. Like they're like for their like just different kinds of things that they used to do a lot. Not a lot of that. They're kind of all into the same style of game now, or now they're trying games of service stuff that is not necessarily working out for them. So yeah, I hope they get back to that, but we'll see. If they have a showcase, right? If they have a showcase, an actual PlayStation showcase, please, and they have some great games I'm looking forward to, that's coming out before next gen, then I would be enticed to buy the PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
not, don't need it. Don't need it. And the only thing that makes me kind of want it a little bit is GT. You know, but I'm hoping, that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping like they put that on PC, so I don't even care, because I don't want to buy it for one fucking game.
No.
You know, I try, like, because if I tail off from GT, like I have several times, I'll end up, it'll just sit there and collect dust. You know, so it is what it is. Yeah, man, we'll see. They need to have a showcase. We need to hear more about Xbox's next gen plans, when that's going to happen. Supposedly some leaks happened today with PlayStation is in talks again with AMD for the manufacturing of their next gen cards and stuff like that as well. So PS6 is supposedly going to be a thing as anticipated. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting couple years coming up, guys. The next two years or so from now, there's gonna be a shit ton of gaming news revolving around what's happening for next gen and the tail end of the biggest games of this generation. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. But thanks for being on the show again, guys. We appreciate you every single week. Shout out to Psycho, who couldn't be here tonight. Shout out to 3-Bit, who's under the weather. And everybody in the chat. As always, you guys make this rock for us every single week and give us some reasons to talk about the things we talk about. And yeah, I hope you guys find something to play right now. Like, there's plenty out there. There's plenty of awesome games coming up. So enjoy whatever it is you're into, whether it be PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, PC, whatever. Doesn't matter. There's stuff to play everywhere. Atari. Yeah. What was the other thing that had come out? The Intel. Wait, that never actually came out. The Amiga, television Amiga, Amico.
Yeah.
What was it? Amico?
Yeah, Miko
Yeah, it's
or
Miko,
whatever.
yeah.
Oh, you can't play on that. It doesn't
Soldier Boy
exist.
console.
Yeah, what do you play on the Soldier Boy console? The but the KFC console also was a thing. You know, that's your favorite place to play. It's cool. No judgment here. Hey, Jasper, tell everybody where they can find you, bro.
Yo, check it out, Lord Jasper, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And then, yeah, I just try to do the shows whenever I can. I miss doing them every week, so. But I've been more consistent last couple weeks, so
Yeah,
that's great. You know, yeah.
Well, it's awesome to have you back, kind of like for the shows. I know you can't make it every week, but like hey, it's been awesome to have you back, man. I know, man. Like the community when you weren't here, you were like doing your training and all that other stuff. Is like. We're like, I miss Jasper. They just kept saying that. I miss Jasper's energy.
Yeah, they're like, where is he? What's he doing?
Yeah, we need somebody to balance this out a little bit. You know, like they're all saying that stuff. So it's been amazing to have you back, dude.
Well, I'm glad that the community missed me.
Yeah,
that means a lot.
And Fuzzy Belvedere, what about you, sir?
Oh, just awesome being on here with you guys, talking about games, and looking forward to the ones coming out this week. And man, chat, guys are awesome. Sorry I haven't been interacting as much like I normally would try to, but just greatly appreciate you guys showing up. And please, if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already. Greatly appreciate it. And then for my rambles and rants, you guys know, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can pretty much find out what other podcasts I'm on from there. But definitely looking forward to Xbox Ultimate on Friday, although might be a little bit spotty as far as me joining, because I'm supposed to be joining the wife at the Mahone movie theater on Friday. So probably going to be on the road. Can't remember if it's Texas Chainsaw or if it's Evil Dead that they're showing on Friday, but we're going to be out there for Friday and Saturday. So
nice, man. Well, have fun, dude. No worries if you can't make it. It's just, you know, family and fun times are definitely more important than just talking the same shit we talk every week, video games and stuff, man. But it's awesome. Spending that time with her and doing all that stuff. But hey, chat, you guys rock. I hope you have a good one. Peace out. See you for PM in the PM on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Friday, Xbox Ultimate Podcast, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We will have episode 201 on Friday. And thanks everybody also for all of the kind words and everything for episode 200 of XUP last Friday. It meant a lot. So have a good one, everybody. Peace out. Bye.